Well, welcome to another Truetone Lounge Quarantine Edition. This one's coming all the way from Switzerland. We have Kirk Fletcher, and so glad to get to catch up with you again. And this is a lot of fun. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Well, so how are you? Because this the last couple months have just been crazy. So tell me how you have been doing over the last couple months.
Well, over the last couple months, when when it first started, when everything first started, I was actually in LA because I had a couple shows with my good buddy Mike Landau and Eric Johnson in Texas. So I was going to try and get to LA and just be in LA, and fly out. But it got so bad, and everything, and they locked down everything. I just flew back to Switzerland while I could, and just was locked down.
Yeah, yeah.
So the first couple of weeks or so, maybe 3-4 weeks, a month or so, I was really, really, really down, just really sad and just kind of confused and everything, And then I just started, like I've always done, whenever something goes on, or something like that, I start pulling out records.
Yeah.
So, I always do this. I've been doing this, old guitar player magazines, records, and I literally can go months by just listening to records, CDs a little bit, and YouTube and guitar player magazines. And luckily, I collected a bunch of stuff over here, already for the last 2 or 3 years that I've been here.
Yeah.
So, just trying different guitar strings on guitars, trying different, pedals to try and make it sound like Cooder or something, and that'll just keep you busy, for all the time. So basically I've been doing that, and now I'm starting to get into learning a bunch of older blues songs. I want to learn 30 songs so I can just go anywhere, play by myself, play with any band, do whatever, and just play 12-bar blues all night. But Kirk Fletcher's version of, blues covers, so that's getting a little bit more obscure, So that's,
Yeah. So what are some? I want to move on. I want to talk about your YouTube channel that you've started. But before that, I want to ask. So, what were some of the articles or albums that really impacted you? That just really got you fired up?
Well, the whole reason why I do this whole guitar player, old reissue, back issue, guitar player, guitar world thing is so I can kind of hear it from the horse's mouth in real time, when they were actually doing it in real time for them.
Right.
Take, Ry Cooder from his 1980 or 79 or whatever, guitar player front cover thing. And you hear about all of the stuff that he's doing at that time, like recording one of the first digital recordings ever.
Right.
It was what, Bop Till You Drop or something like that?
Right.
Or
you're correct. Yeah.
Yeah. And just stuff like that, and hearing him talk about how he gets his sound and his equipment. And also, when Albert Lee was playing his 52 Telly, and, what's the other guy that was after Albert Lee and Emmylou's band? The guy that played the Les Paul Special?
Yeah, that was Frank Riccard.
Yeah!
Yeah.
And just hearing how he, put a B bender or a palm bender or something on his Les Paul Special.
Yes, yes. Again, you're talking to, we're gonna guitar nerd out. So just
totally.
So
I need it.
Okay, so I found Frank Riccard in Santa Fe, New Mexico. So he is after playing with Emmylou, he got his law degree. And he became a Native American, like a tribal lawyer. And so, yes. And so he was living in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I think he still lives in that area. But years ago,
Yeah.
I tracked him down and called him on the phone and asked him
Wow.
a bunch of
That's what
questions.
I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
and but anyway, yes, he had a double cutaway Les Paul special with the single P90. It was blonde,
Yeah.
the TV yellow with the little
Yeah.
tortoise guard, and he had some guy named Sully uh, put this bender on it, and it was it had a little hub in the back, and it had like a piece of metal that came across and attached to the strap, and so he had that done on two guitars, and I think one or both of them got stolen. And
Ah,
but that's what. And if you really want to hear some good Frank Riccard stuff, there's Emmylou did a live album called Last Date, and on that it's all Frank Riccard playing. And he
yeah.
was a great player, and yeah, he had his own thing going because instead of using the Telecaster,
Yeah.
he had that Les Paul Junior, that he
Yeah.
used, and it was fantastic. So yeah, thank you for reminding me of Frank Riccard. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And then, there's guys like Ray Flack too,
Oh
like
yeah.
two English, guitar players, Albert Lee and Ray Flack.
Yeah.
And I like his style a lot too, like with Ricky Skaggs, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The
Didn't he play like the Heartbroke or something like
Heartbroke.
that? Da, da, da.
That's him.
You know,
I
that kind of I don't know why I started talking about this. I
yeah.
just, was thinking about old guitar player magazines.
Yeah.
So it made me think
And
about some of those.
yeah, and those, because it was funny, you were talking about like the Cooder. That was the steel player with Emmylou did a lot of those interviews. So he interviewed that Cooder interview that you're talking about during the Bop to
Yeah,
Dropper. He did that, and
yeah,
also the one where Albert's on the cover with his 52
yeah,
telly. That was
yeah.
Steve Fischel, who is Emmylou's steel
Oh,
player.
yeah,
He
yeah.
did those interviews, and he also interviewed like Waddy Wattel and
Oh, man.
and David Lindley and all
Yeah,
these guys. Yeah, he did a lot of that because he was running in that circle. And
yeah.
Tom Wheeler, who was the editor of Guitar Player magazine at the time, he really pushed him to write, and so he did a bunch of writing when he was still touring with Emmylou, and so and Ray Flack. I took a guitar lesson from Ray Flack in the early '90s, and he was amazing. He had like really heavy gauge low strings, so his strings were weird. It was like 10, 11, 15, then 32, 42, 52. And
Wow.
so it was a really interesting set.
Even back then.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he had a 68 Rosewood board Telecaster, and
Yeah.
the action was high on it, and
Really?
and he used this little Gibson amp that was it was from the 40s. And then of
Yeah.
course on the Ricky Skaggs stuff he used a Lab Series amp with a 15. Because
Yeah.
BB King used the one with the 212s,
Yeah.
but Ray and Ricky both used the one that had the 15-inch EV. We are going way down the rabbit trail on
That's
this. Let's
so crazy though. Because it's like that slower thing, it's
yeah.
like playing real like slow and melodic lines and stuff behind Ricky, it's
Yeah.
like amazing. Because me growing up in the 80s, I mean, Guitar Player magazine was it.
Yeah.
You didn't care what the guitar player was. He was either good or bad,
Yeah.
So you just listen to everybody. Starlicks, the video series, I
Ab-
mean, that,
you are on the money because it was back then. It was like that was the source. I mean,
yeah,
you had Guitar Player and you had Guitar. Guitar World, started out kind of being more like Guitar Player, and then of course when Eddie kind of came around, all of a sudden they became
yeah,
more of a hair band, uh,
yeah,
magazine. But anyway, yeah, man,
yeah,
you're
man.
you're killing. Okay, so. Yeah, I have, you've been to my office and I have a bunch of old,
Oh, yeah,
old Guitar Player magazines lying around
yeah,
there. But okay, let's we've gone down the rabbit trail enough. Let's talk about you.
already.
So you started this YouTube channel and you've been putting up a
Yeah,
bunch of great videos. And so one of the ones that I really enjoyed recently is you were showing older blues styles and just
Yeah,
the pre vibrato, kind of bending style.
yeah, yeah.
And I,
I thank you so much.
yeah,
Yeah, that whole like pre kind of vibrato, pre bending thing was something that I had to do out of necessity. I was playing with blues artists like Linwood Slim and, hanging around Junior Watson. And it just sounded weird and out of place to not play more in that style,
right.
with things. So I wanted the music to sound good.
Yeah.
So I would like, not bend. I would just play like kind of lines, even like Willie Johnson with Howlin' the Wolf before Hubert Sumlin and Jody Williams, and he really had, you can't really say primitive style because it's rocking, it's airy, it's amazing, it's soulful, and it's, got attitude way before, rock and roll or punk or something like that,
Yeah.
So it's
You're,
amazing.
you're absolutely right. There, even though there's not the bending and vibrato, there's still a lot of intensity
Yeah,
to how they would attack the notes and they'd attack the
yeah,
guitar. I mean, of course, a lot of times they're using arch tops and de-armond pickups or P90s and stuff like that, and then they're
yeah.
using fairly heavy strings, and they're really hitting it hard. You can tell.
I don't even know why. I just thought of when you were saying that, I was thinking about Ike Turner too.
Oh yeah,
A whole, he was sort of in that whole time, the Sun Records and all that, but the Stratocaster, and the
yeah.
whammy bar and all that, and kind of not much bending, but killer. I mean, Guitar Slim didn't really bend or, play with vibrato, but he was
Yeah.
amazing and intense and earthy.
So, so I'm going to ask you the question. So, how did the bending style come about? Because like BB King, BB King was playing more in the mode of T-Bone Walker and was not bending, very much, and wasn't using
Yeah.
the vibrato that he was known for later. So, how did that come? Do you know how did that come about? How did he, when did how did he start getting into the bending and the vibrato thing, or when did all those guitar players get into that? What happened?
Well, Zach, this is a very fun question that I don't have the answer to.
Well, I mean,
This
what?
is a question,
Well, what I was thinking is that, I mean, just from listening to the music of that era, you had Muddy Waters and you had other guitar players that were starting to play slide, and so
Yeah.
my thought was maybe these guys were trying to imitate the slide by doing vibrato. That was the only thing I could think of, but
Wow.
because because all of a sudden, because it wasn't like light gauge strings all of a sudden became available. It was like they were still
Oh,
using. I mean, sometimes they were using like another first string or something like that.
yeah.
But
Like moving it down like a Black Diamond set move down one with a higher banjo string or something. I don't know.
right, right, that kind of thing. But yeah,
You
maybe it
know
was
what?
the slide thing that was influencing
Yeah.
guys.
You know what? It's weird because I think this is just something that had to happen, the singing guitar thing, because you hear this kind of thing in the Django Reinhardt thing going on, and you hear it in the Lonnie Johnson thing, and this is
Yes.
going back to 30s, So you do hear string bending, and other people too kind of done it. But I think you mean more of the get the note, pull it up, and hold it, and let it sing like that, right?
Right. That's
Yeah,
kind of
the,
what you yeah
yeah,
thinking
because
of.
the bend.
You
Keep
go.
on. Because the bending thing was there, and I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, you have the slide guitar and everything like that, but I really think that the pull up on a note and hold it and go like that was really perfected by BB King.
Yeah. I
I mean, even if it wasn't, I don't care because I love BB King and he's like my biggest all-time guitar hero. And so is
absolutely.
Reggie Young too. Reggie Young,
Yeah.
another King fan.
Yeah. Yeah, it blew my mind when Reggie, when I interviewed him, and he said that he used to run after BB King's bus when he'd see it on the street. You know, I mean, that's just
Oh,
like, and that's the only autograph that that Reggie had on any of his guitars. On the back of his
right.
'56 Strat, he had BB King's autograph on there, and it's like,
That's right.
yeah, I mean
And,
that's a huge influence.
it's crazy because when you think about it, like Reggie Young, he really kind of like took things from that and added like this soul guitar thing to it.
Yeah,
And it was just like amazing and on a lot of records, right?
yeah, oh yeah,
Then at the West Coast in the early 70s, a young gentleman from Lomita, California, named Larry Carlton,
yeah,
who came along and done the BB King thing and mixed it with more jazz harmony
yeah,
and put it on a lot of records.
yeah,
So these kind of things just keep me up for days.
yeah.
I'll research and buy records and listen to them and stuff like that, and it's just very fulfilling for me. Even when I can't play live, I just listen to records like some kind of weirdo or
Yeah.
something.
No, it's like you were just saying, and it's like BB King is this linchpin guitar player that it's like he is so important for so many players, and so many people were influenced by him. Both his early style, when you think about Jimmy Vaughn, the first
Yeah.
T-Birds record, there's a
Oh,
lot of the early, non-bending vibrato, style on
yeah.
there, and yeah, BB's huge. Or looking at, I was, looking at I saw like a one of those reproduction posters for Elvis's first performances in Vegas, and it had
Oh,
and so it has Elvis Presley, and then it says like the sweet inspirations, and then it said blues guitarist James Burton, and I thought, and I was like. It made sense, but it was like at first I was like, he's not a blues guitarist, but it's like, yes, he is. It's like
and
you
then
think
when you
about,
think about it,
yeah, yeah, and it's like you think the first
absolutely.
yeah, the first thing that he, played on that was big was Susie Q, and that sounds like Lightning Hopkins.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, and
I mean, James Burton,
yeah,
man. I mean, that slinky thing that he done on so many different kinds of records, and he's like, "Yep, played my telly on all of it."
that's
I'm
right.
like, other than the dobro or something like that, on those. I mean,
Yeah,
man, just walking into the studio with an amp and a guitar and just playing on everything,
yeah,
that's amazing.
yeah. Never, it's like we were talking about this Richard Bennett interview that I did, and
Yeah,
it was interesting in that he was saying that all the session guitar players in LA in the 60s and 70s, they all drove Cadillacs because they needed the trunk space, not because they were trying to be necessarily cool, but
yeah,
yeah, you had everything in your trunk, and then you'd pull out stuff. But yeah, James could get by with just taking a telly and a Fender amp, and yeah, every once in a while he'd pull out a dobro or an acoustic guitar or a gut
yeah.
string, but that's what he was his signature thing, and he played on so many records. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and another thing too is, when I got into like Merle Haggard, like I bought compilations
Yeah.
because I came into that later after I had tried to start writing songs and trying to listen to more singers and stuff. So I was coming late to Merle. I had heard stuff, during my childhood, but I thought that was all Roy Nichols kind of.
Yeah.
And then watch one of your episodes and you were like, yeah, James Burton is on this song, that song. I'm like, oh man, that was James Burton, and that makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah.
Tuning down the low E string and everything.
Right. Yeah. Like on "Bottle Let Me Down," he would tune down. He tuned that
Yeah.
low string down to D to where he could end on that low D note because the song was in D. But what's interesting about that is that Roy was this great guitar player, but
Yeah.
he didn't really. He kept taking other gigs, and Merle wouldn't be able to use him in the studio, and so he started. And he liked James's playing because he really liked.
Yeah.
There was this Ricky Nelson tune called "I Just Can't Quit," which was kind of a later song that he did like in '66 or something, or '67.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah.
anyway, Merle heard that and started hiring him on stuff. And what Merle said is that the Merle Haggard guitar style was a mix of James Burton's chicken picking and then Roy Nichols' bending style, because Roy was the guy that was doing those pre-bent licks where he'd start with the string already bent and then drop it down, especially when you think about those where he would have a pre-bend and then he would end on the flat 7. I mean, that's Roy Nichols. And so what Merle has said in a biography that was done a couple of years ago was that the Merle Haggard guitar style was a mix of Roy and James together, and that they and that's how it kind of came about. So yes, we do need to give James Burton credit, but yeah, there was some mixing in there, and of course after 69 or 70, it was all Roy for a while, and then of course later on you had Reggie Young and other people play on Merle's records, but yeah.
And didn't you have like on that tribute to why am I drawing a blank? The Texas
Jimmy Rogers or the Bob Wills.
The Bob Wills. Didn't he have Gimbal?
Johnny Gimbal.
Didn't he have him playing on that too, on that tribute record or something? Yeah, I'm getting foggy about that.
Okay, but Johnny Gimbal's a Texas fiddler, but also there's Tiny Moore, who was playing the electric mandolin that sounds like a guitar. And so many people, because that record has Eldon Shamblin, playing that early gold Strat that you've probably seen, like when Bonamassa had the guitar or something like that. So he was playing that. You had Roy Nichols playing a telly, and you had Tiny Moore playing a little Bigsby 5-string mandolin, and he played like, it sounds like a guitar, a lot of times, except his note choices are a little different, because of the way the tuning, laid things out on the fretboard. But yeah, that's a killer record. Yeah.
Oh man. And didn't Roy Nichols play with Rose Maddox?
Yeah.
Before?
Yes.
Man.
Played with,
that's crazy.
Yeah, he played with Rose Maddox. He also played with Lefty Frizzell. And that's how Merle first saw Roy Nichols playing was with Lefty Frizzell, and that's of course always been one of Merle's big heroes was Frizzell.
Yeah, man. Lefty Frizzell. Did he record with Lefty?
I think the only early recordings of Roy are with the Maddox brothers and Rose. Yeah. And then of course, but when you hear Roy's early playing style, it's very much non-bending, and it's more like Jimmy Bryant. And it's or kind of Jimmy Bryant meets rockabilly playing, and then of course in the 60s, he starts bending strings, and I think part of it had to do with just people started learning about lighter gauge strings, and they started hearing bending. Because once you start hearing bending, you'll be like, "Oh, that's cool. That's a new thing. I'm going to start doing that too."
Totally.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, let's talk. Let's talk about your YouTube channel. So you did this cool episode on early blues. You did an episode where you were playing Memphis Soul Stew, and I was like, it blew my mind because I heard you play it, and I was like, I've been playing this song the wrong way forever.
I didn't know I was playing it right. I just saw it on this Cornell Dupree instructional tape, and he was kind of doing a variation on it. So I just tried to cop some of that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I was playing it right.
Well, play a little bit of that for us, the lick, and then some of the rhythmic things.
Oh yeah, like that. On the tape, he's playing it like this.
Yeah.
I mean, like that. I can do it better on my telly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know.
You'll get no argument from me. But no,
what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, that. It's the little things you play besides the E7 chord that really make it interesting, and those are the little things that show us, a little bit of that, kind of, kind of try to lift up the neck to where it's kind of more in the middle of the
Yeah.
screen and play a little bit of that. Show us a little bit.
It's like this kind of really light picking with your right hand, and then he's really only playing like so, and you're muting the G and the B. No, you're muting the G.
Yeah.
It gives it that sound like. So that's like the bass, what the bass player played.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
You know, another thing that
you're killing me. You're killing me.
Oh,
Yeah, that's great.
Another thing that I really like is that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like just this little bass line on that song. I'm like, wow. You know, it's just so simple, but it's like where you put it, you know, that kind of.
The feel of it,
Yeah, that was probably Eric Gale's playing that because Eric Gale had like a slightly different thing than Cornell. You know, it's like people go, "Oh man, sometimes I can't tell the difference." But for me, I can tell they just had different kind of ways to get to the same point. You know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they were, in some ways they were similar players, but yeah, you can tell the difference. One in their tone and two in their yeah. And I just remember, golly, I remember getting one of Eric Gale's, records, and it had a tune on it called "The Rabbit."
Oh yeah, the rabbit.
The rabbit. I was like, because you listen to the song, it's good and funky, and all of a sudden you have these background vocals going, "The rabbit, the rabbit." I was like, what were they thinking? It's still it's like one of those things. Even though it has background vocals saying "the rabbit," it's still a killer tune though. So
I know.
Only
you know, the other thing that I really like is like that. Like playing with the phaser.
Oh yeah.
Just that sound of the phaser is like. Oh man, I love it. For that particular thing.
Yeah. Because it gives it that kind of chunkiness. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I love it.
You can chew on it.
I think everybody was kind of fond of the phaser back in the day. You got Waylon playing with the phaser.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I would.
Playing with the.
They kind of wore it out for a while, and but
like the wah wah,
just like exactly, it's like any effect. It was it was like tremolo got worn out, in the 50s, and because it was like the only effect, and then it was like everyone was using echo, and then it's like everything else. Everyone decides it's like, oh, this is the cool thing. Everybody used this, and so finally those things are cool again. But it was for a while there. It was like phasing, wasn't. It was like you wouldn't be caught dead, using a phaser in the 80s. Unless you were Waylon or something like that. Yeah, exactly. Then, let's put chorus on everything. There were country records in the 80s, like Alabama, where they put chorus on everything. It's like chorus is on the drums, it's on the guitar, it's on the voices, it's on everything. Okay, yeah.
I'm such a weirdo. I kind of like it.
Yeah, it is. It's fun.
I know, it's so weird. I know.
Let's put chorus on everything.
Everything.
So that's what your next record. What you do is you just every song is the name of an effect that you put on everything. So this song is chorus. This song phasing.
And then you put the chorus with the FM synth. Like the DX7s, the D50s, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh man,
that is a cool sound. Oh,
it's cool, man.
It is cool. So when are you going to start playing shows again?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm almost like, man, I don't want to play shows anymore for a while. I want to play more records. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No, seriously though, probably there might be one or two here and there, sort of like maybe towards the end of the year. But it seems like people are starting to kind of gravitate towards next year, kind of for shows and stuff like that. So I
Yeah.
don't really have much on the horizon other than a few things that are a possibility here in Europe, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, I'll come out to LA and see my daughter probably around her birthday in August, and yeah, I mean, it'll just be good to see everybody, kind of, you know, look at some guitars and stuff, and see if I can bring back some more records.
Well, that sounds like a good plan. And you're doing okay?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. I mean, here in Switzerland, everything is pretty calm, and a lot of things are opened already, you know,
Okay.
back up. So it's sort of, you know, it's sort of like one hand, I'm like, yeah, that's cool. And then I'm looking at my family and everybody in the States, and it's like, okay, it's kind of weird. You
Yeah.
know, so it's sort of strange, you know, but I just try and like keep in contact with everybody and tell them I love them and, you know, do what I can, you know,
Yeah.
try and stay positive somehow, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes that's
Looking at a
hard.
lot of, looking at a lot of Tom Bukovac, homeschooling. Woohoo!
It's that's been a great show. So it's
Well,
certainly.
you guys were the ones who inspired me to start, you know, just putting little stuff on my YouTube channel. You
Yeah.
know, it's good, you know, therapy for me. You know, it's just kind of talking about a bunch of stuff that I love, you know, and I'm gonna actually start getting into maybe a little bit more structured things because I'm doing all this stuff, you know, like press and play or press and record and just like, okay, let's talk about these cool records or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So
No, I think
yeah, it's fun.
that's great. It's one, it's like you just have to decide, okay, I'm going to get started. I'm going to start doing it.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
it's like as it goes, organically, it starts to grow and you start figuring out, what you
yeah,
like to do. And then, yeah, it's like as you go, you start kind of, oh, well, here's something I could do a little better. And you start kind of chipping away here and there.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like me recently, I've just, started kind of getting a little more organized. Yeah. Cause it's like you find out, it's
They're
like,
great.
yeah. So, well, thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're doing some really great stuff, and it's like all of the stuff that I really like, you know. And I'm like, man, finally we have a place where us nerds can go and talk about like records and Telecasters and Harvard amps and
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Well, and that's why I'm glad you're doing your channel. So I hope all the everyone watching will go and check out your. So I guess they could probably just get on YouTube and put in Kirk Fletcher
Oh
and
yeah,
you'll come up. But yeah, everyone needs to check out your channel. They need to subscribe. They need to show you the love because you show us the love, and
oh man, it's fun.
it is
It's
fun.
definitely something that, you know, I can do, take a few minutes and do a little video in the day and feel like I'm still, you know, contributing to what I really love. So, and like, you know, I don't think I would have ever probably done this if I had been out gigging, you know, playing and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So it's like some good is coming out of this, I guess, and somehow, and hopefully I'll get back to writing songs and stuff, you know, but it's still kind of up and down. Some days I feel more with it, and other days I feel kind of down, you know.
yeah.
I'm human.
Yeah, we all are. Yeah, we all have. It's yeah. There's been a crazy time, and also I think the
Yeah,
good and the bad thing is you've had all this time, or we've all had all this time for introspection and looking. And
yeah,
sometimes that's good, and sometimes it's tough when you start looking at things in your life, and you're just like, I'm not real happy about that. Let's change that. One of the
yeah,
the big lessons for me is that this time period you know, uh, it's made adversity causes growth, and that's the thing that I hate to admit because it's like you want to think, oh, I'm going to grow when everything's going my way, but when you
yeah,
grow and when you start doing other thing, it's because you were uncomfortable, and
yeah. That's absolutely
yeah.
right.
So I mean, yeah. I think I'm encouraged by all the stuff like seeing you doing your show, seeing Tom Bukovac doing his, and it's like all these things are because people were in an uncomfortable place. They didn't do it because but all these good things have happened from it. They, we're all growing from this. So,
the thing too that really inspired me talking again about Tom Bukovac is like, the guy was like, hey, I'm from Cleveland and I grew up listening to this stuff. You should check out this record. You should check this. And I was like, man, this is so much fun to look at this every day.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I should try and do something, like blues and like, my upbringing in blues and soul and all of that kind of stuff, and just kind of just talk about it a little and play and just have fun with it. And it's, as long as I do it that way, it's fun. It's cool.
That's right. And the thing that you find is that you don't have to appeal to everybody, because on YouTube you have, or on the internet in general, you have this worldwide audience, and even if you just find a niche, that niche can be big.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you'll just kind of keep doing, keep being you, and you keep doing, putting stuff out there, you start kind of building an audience, and before you know it, it's like, wow, how did this happen? And it's fun, and it's like, and you don't have to be thinking about, oh, how am I gonna, I mean, I don't know. I don't think about, how am I going to get 500,000 views on something like that? It's like, I would rather get, 5,000 views of people that like are really into it, and that they're really, and it's part of a community, and having fun and having good comments and good questions and stuff like that. That's what that's what's fun. Because
I mean, some of the comments on my channel, I'm like, wow, these people are really cool and thoughtful.
Yeah,
I mean, if you get a knucklehead or two here and there, whatever.
Yeah, you just
I don't care.
You just block them.
Yeah, like, I don't care if you don't like it.
Yeah,
I'm having fun, and I like to talk about blues, and this is super comfortable for me.
Yeah,
and I'm having a good time.
Yeah,
so.
All right. Well, we probably ought to sign off. But Kirk,
all right,
I really appreciate you doing this. This meant a lot to me. That was we got so many comments. After the lounge episode we filmed last year. So many, just about you in general, just how much they, of course, they enjoyed the interview, and also just your attitude and your energy, and I love it. And it's so much fun just to get to catch up with you. And of course, we've kind of become, we've enjoy sending texts back and forth, and having guitar nerding out, and I learned stuff from you, and it's just so I appreciate this so much, and man, have a wonderful week, and I hope we'll, again, people, go check out Kirk's YouTube channel,
I'll be
and learn something
as soon as I can too.
Okay, all right,
I'll be there.
All right, well, bye Kirk, see you.
Bye, I'll see you. Take care.